Welcome back to Med Journal Club, where we dissect the latest medical research so you don't have to. Today, we're diving into what might be the most significant breakthrough in obesity medicine since bariatric surgery. The REDEFINE-1 trial, published in the New England Journal of Medicine this June, has everyone talking about a new combination therapy that's achieved unprecedented 20% weight loss. But before you get too excited, we need to talk about what this really means for our patients and what the pharmaceutical industry isn't telling us. Let's start with the sobering reality. We're facing a global obesity epidemic. 46% of adults worldwide are living with overweight or obesity, and that number is projected to hit 54% by 2035. Current pharmacotherapy, even our best option semaglutide at 2.4 milligrams, only achieves 9 to 17% weight loss. That's significant, but for many of our patients with severe obesity, it's simply not enough. This is where the pharmaceutical industry saw an opportunity, and where Novo Nordisk stepped in with their billion-dollar bet on combination therapy. The question is, does CagriSema represent genuine medical advancement, or just another expensive solution to a problem that requires systemic change? Now, let's talk about the star of this show, Cagrilintide. This is a long-acting amylin analog that acts on multiple amylin receptors, AMI1R, AMI2R, and AMI3R, plus a calcitonin receptor. The mechanism is actually quite elegant. It targets appetite regulation by directly affecting the hypothalamus, hindbrain, and other key brain regions. In phase 2 trials, cagrilintide alone achieved 9.7% weight loss over 26 weeks. The rationale for combining it with semaglutide was solid. Complementary mechanisms of action targeting different pathways for appetite control. And the phase 1b data was promising. 17.1% weight loss over just 20 weeks. But here's what's concerning. We're essentially creating a pharmaceutical cocktail without fully understanding the long-term implications of these combined mechanisms. The central research question was straightforward. Does cagrilintide semaglutide combination provide superior weight loss compared to placebo in overweight, non-diabetic adults? It sounds simple, but the implications are massive. We're talking about potentially changing how we approach obesity treatment for millions of people worldwide. The real question isn't just whether it works, it's whether the benefits justify the costs, both financial and biological. This was a robust phase 3A trial, multi-center, double-blind, active-controlled, randomized controlled trial involving 3,417 participants across 22 countries. The population included adults with BMI 30 or higher, or BMI 27 or higher with obesity-related complications, and importantly, no diabetes. They ran this for 68 weeks, which sounds long, but is actually quite short when we're talking about chronic disease management. What's interesting is that this was powered for a 99% effective power. They really wanted to make sure they could demonstrate superiority. But 68 weeks? That's not even 2 years. For a medication that patients will likely need to take lifelong, this is concerning from an evidence standpoint. Let's look at the demographics. Average age 47, 67% female, 72% white, 18% Asian, only 5% Black participants. Already we're seeing representation issues that limit generalizability. Mean weight 107 kilograms, BMI 37.9. These are people with significant obesity. The randomization scheme was interesting. 21 to 3 to 3 to 7 ratio. That means they heavily weighted toward the combination therapy arm. 2,108 patients got the combination versus only 705 on placebo. This isn't unusual for registration trials, but it does limit our ability to assess comparative safety profiles. Everyone got lifestyle interventions, which is important, but the specific details of those interventions aren't well described in the paper. The primary endpoints were percent change in body weight and achieving at least 5% weight loss from baseline. Secondary endpoints included the more ambitious targets, 20, 25%, and 30% weight loss, plus waist circumference, systolic blood pressure, and adverse events. These are reasonable endpoints, but notice what's missing. Long-term cardiovascular outcomes, quality of life measures beyond weight, and importantly, what happens when patients stop the medication. Now for the results that have everyone talking. The combination therapy achieved 20.4% weight loss compared to just 3% with placebo. That's a 17.3 percentage point difference. Let me put that in perspective. 53.6% of patients on the combination achieved at least 20% weight loss, and nearly 20% achieved 30% or more weight loss. These numbers are approaching what we see with bariatric surgery. The combination was clearly superior to monotherapy. Semaglutide alone achieved 14.9% and Cagrilintide alone 11.5%. But here's the critical point that's being glossed over in the media coverage. Only 57.4% of patients were actually receiving the maximum dose at week 68. That means nearly half had to reduce their dose due to tolerability issues. And yet, the pharmaceutical industry is marketing these results as if everyone can achieve this level of weight loss. Let's talk about what patients actually experienced. 92.3% in the combination group had adverse events compared to 82.3% on placebo. That's already concerning. But the real issue is gastrointestinal events. 79.6% in the combination group versus just 39.9% on placebo. We're talking about nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation. These weren't trivial. 5.9% discontinued due to adverse events in the combination group. And here's something that should raise red flags. There were 2 deaths in the combination group, 1 suicide and 1 cancer, versus 0 in the other groups. Now, the numbers are small, but this highlights that we don't fully understand the psychological and systemic effects of such dramatic appetite suppression. Credit where credit is due. This was a well-designed study. Large sample size, international scope, and they included active comparator groups, which is more than we can say for many pharmaceutical trials. The weight loss results are clinically meaningful. We're talking about reductions that could genuinely impact obesity-related comorbidities. The hierarchical endpoint testing and multiple estimands analysis shows good statistical planning. And the body composition analysis, though limited to only 7.4% of participants, showed that most weight loss was fat, not just muscle. But let's be honest about the limitations. First, generalizability is a major issue. 67% female, 72% white participants, and only 6.1% were actually overweight rather than obese. This doesn't represent the diverse populations we treat. Second, 68 weeks isn't long enough. We have no idea about weight regain, long-term safety, or what happens to cardiovascular outcomes over years or decades. Third, the dose optimization concerns are real. More than 40% couldn't tolerate the target dose. In the real world, this could mean significantly lower effectiveness than reported. And fourth, that body composition analysis was done in less than 8% of participants, hardly robust enough to make strong claims about muscle preservation. So what does this mean for clinical practice? We're looking at a potential paradigm shift in obesity treatment. These weight loss numbers rival bariatric surgery without the surgical risks. For carefully selected patients, this could be transformative. But, and this is a big but, we need to talk about the elephant in the room: cost and access. Current GLP-1 medications cost $900 to $1,400 per month. This combination will likely be even more expensive. We're looking at creating a 2-tiered system where wealthy patients get access to these miracle drugs while others are left with lifestyle counseling. There are also supply chain issues. The FDA has had these drugs on shortage lists. And remember, this is likely lifelong treatment. Stop the medication and weight regain is almost inevitable. Let's dig deeper into what this really means for healthcare systems. The pharmaceutical industry is projecting a $100 billion market for obesity medications by 2030. That's not sustainable for most healthcare systems. We're essentially medicalizing obesity while ignoring the social determinants: food deserts, lack of safe spaces for physical activity, the processed food industry's role in creating this epidemic. There's also an ethical issue here. Are we sending the message that obesity is simply a medical problem requiring pharmaceutical intervention? What about prevention? What about addressing the underlying socioeconomic factors that drive obesity rates? And let's talk about the psychological impact. Some patients report feeling like they've lost their relationship with food entirely. There are emerging reports of mood changes, anxiety, and yes, suicidal ideation. The 2 deaths in REDEFINE-1, while statistically small, should give us pause. We need longer-term psychological safety data before we start prescribing this widely. Furthermore, there are mechanistic concerns. We're essentially creating pharmacological anorexia. The combination targets multiple pathways simultaneously: GLP-1 receptors, amylin receptors, calcitonin receptors. What are the long-term effects of this level of appetite suppression? What happens to gut microbiome, to bone metabolism, to reproductive function? We simply don't know. So here's the bottom line. CagriSema achieved unprecedented 20.4% weight loss with an acceptable safety profile in carefully selected patients over 68 weeks. This could be transformative for some of our patients with severe obesity, but we need to be realistic about limitations: cost, access, tolerability, and the fact that this is likely lifelong treatment. The real questions for us as clinicians are: how do we balance these impressive efficacy results against increased gastrointestinal side effects and unknown long-term consequences? And what patient populations would benefit most while minimizing harm? We can't let the excitement over these results blind us to the need for comprehensive, long-term safety data. Thanks for joining me on MedJournal Club. What do you think? Are we looking at a genuine breakthrough, or are we medicalizing a problem that requires broader societal solutions? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more critical analyses of the latest medical research. Until next time, keep questioning the evidence.